Kimraha Hula Dunya. How is everyone? Feuchamaich Olde Scot the Celtic podcast. Today in Feuchamaich Beagan Gaidhlig. Lesson 2, the Beginner's Gaelic course. And in Celtic history, the supernatural Celtic Isle of Hy-Brasil. And then in everyday Celtic ways, the Milk White Dew. We're going to have music by Anna Martin, Clonnet, the Blarney Brothers, Mactala, and the Selkie Girls. And in the history of Ireland, most everyone has heard of the tragedy of the Irish potato famine. The carnage and starvation left in its wake was unspeakable. This is a list of mass graves needed because of Angorta Mór, the Great Hunger, in only 5 short years from 1845 to 1850.
I want you all to know that America today is on bended knee in prayer for the people whose lives were lost here, for the workers who work here, for the families who mourn. This nation stands with the good people of New York City and New Jersey and Connecticut as we mourn the loss of thousands of our citizens. The nation sends its love and compassion.
God bless America!
To everybody who is here. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for making the nation proud. And may God bless America.
Learn the history of Gaelic songs as you learn to sing them. Gaelic and English lyrics are provided to give you a deeper understanding of the song, to guide you when you're learning, or just sit back and enjoy these beautiful songs. Welcome to Learn a Gaelic Song. Today's song is Nínek Agrai. Now this is by Anne Martin of Skye, and this beautiful song is in the style of traditional island laments. It's about a man who's struggling to write his feelings. He laments for a girl he is truly in love with. He dreams of her. He dreams of even being with her. However, though the song never comes right out and says she has passed away, you get the feeling that she is no longer of this world. And that is where his pain emanates from. So, it's a beautiful love song with a hidden haunting undertone. The original song, of course, was written by Murdo Morrison from Turbot on Harris. So enjoy. Remember, Gaelic at the top, English at the bottom. Get ready.
Sin je kom beare vi tahich se gelian. Tonen glattig, ik taves kato karoar. Jan vekken nettaren I faskek sanne van brois. Ach mogel se domlanan rim vjochen ani jesoi.
Scottish Gaelic is native to the Gaels of Scotland. Scottish Gaelic developed out of the Old Irish, and learning this beautiful language can be a direct link to your Gaelic ancestors. Follow along in Feuchamaich Beagan Gaidhlig, and like I said, let's try a little Gaelic. Fáilte ye Old Scots, the beginner's Gaelic course. Kimra hula dunya, how is everyone? Looky there, you already know how to say welcome to and how is everyone. Alright, in the next 25 lessons of Feuchamaich Beagan Gaidhlig, that's Let's Try a Little Gaelic, with a little work you can gain a rudimentary understanding of the Scottish Gaelic language. Now, these lessons were taken from my weekly podcast beginning back on May 15th of 2020. So if you like, you can listen to them there as well. But please remember that I am not an authority on the Gaelic language. I just love learning it. I struggle like most all learners, and so what I teach comes right from well-respected Gaelic teachers. I hope you find it interesting, informative, and fun, and as always, I display on the screen what I'm discussing so you can follow along. Alright, Kersh Maha, which means, alright then, let's get started. We're still in that 25-part Gaelic lesson. This is part 2. And as always, I will display what I am talking about on the screen. So, today, lesson 2, the present tense of the verb to be. Now, like all verbs in Gaelic, there is only one form for all persons. For a positive statement, in the present tense, this is ha. Just add the subject to it, either a pronoun or a noun. Now this gives you the basis on sentence structure, verb, subject, everything else. Pronouns are combined with the verb ha as follows. Ha me, I am. Ha u, you are. Ha a, he is. Ha e, she is. Ha shin, we are. Ha shiv, you are, the plural form. And ha it, they are. Now, there are two ways to say you in Gaelic. U for singular usage, and shiv, you, for formal usage, showing respect, or if you don't know the person or you are talking to. And plural usage for speaking to more than one person, of course. Now, adjectives can be used following the verb to be. The adjective is the same for all subjects. So, the feminine subject, ha-i, fuer, she is cold. The plural subject, ha-iet fuer, they are cold. And the masculine subject, ha-callum fuer, callum is cold. Vocabulary. Adjectives are words that are used to describe or modify nouns or pronouns. For example, nice, big, happy, and mean are adjectives because they describe things. A nice hat, a big rabbit, a happy duck, a mean person. Sayings, I'm going to whip through these real quick. Ma is good, dona is bad, ski is tired, blah is warm. Now watch out for those little marks over the vowels. You'll learn about broad and slender vowels here in a later lesson. Just know that the mark means that you give it a little bit of a broad pronunciation. Che is hot, fuer is cold, snock is nice, more is big, beck is small, chin is sick, luck is weak, lecher is strong, bria is beautiful, toletche is happy, Bronach is sad, Fluke is wet, Chirlum is dry, Feuchamaich is mean, and Granda is ugly. Now an adverb is a word used to modify a verb, an adjective or another adverb. For example, is she swims extremely quickly. Now, the extremely modifies the adjective quick. Now, I'm sorry, I messed that up a little bit. Glay equals very, means very. And glay is a very important, helpful word, but it lenites the next word. So lenition is the softening of the next word by placing an H in the second position. For example, glay va, very good. Glay hona, very bad. But watch out, because not every word gets this special treatment. Glay ski, very tired. Glay snock, very nice. And glay luck, very weak. Alright. You'll see more on lenition later on. But there's a practice. I got some practice translation for you to do. Number 1, Hami ski. Number 2, Ha-iet fur. Number 3, Ha-i fluk. Number 4, Hashem fur. Number 5, Hashem snock. Number 6, Hami gleva.
Aus ne keiltje nurat warudem nashek aroi aviho khawdele arho aroi aviho khawlo aravi kurapuyach mim khere ukangona tunechun gosepanya tavesen schabler gotoya aroi aviho khawdele arho aroi aviho khawlo aravi stanamarinam matan faram bevin lam katel sammek paska krikalion kayan segloi aroi aviho khawdele arho aroi aviho khawlo aravi agus vrienden aftone snan kanarten tramme lampe bien dagen hanjem nodig ramme agrian aroi aviho khawdele arho aroi aviho khawlo aravi Oy glasere horlan verta jurer ambian aroi aviho khawdele arho aroi aviho khawlo aravi spar hane ervugaram nye kwasay satuhel ore strata keri futar nurlo pein monian aroi aviho khawdele arho aroi aviho khawlo aravi parain trach kayas lache ayas taramachen kreching sarapa kriya bochnam batan hechron bating nafiav aroi aviho khawdele arho aroi aviho khawlo aravi
Celtic history brings you the tales of the land, castles, warriors, heroes, legends, and customs that have created the rich, vibrant, and sometimes strange and wonderful history of the Celtic world. The supernatural Celtic Isle of Hy-Brasil. Hy-Brasil was often shown on ancient maps as a very small island off the west coast of Ireland. The name Hy-Brasil originates from Celtic mythology. According to Irish folklore, an island named Hy-Brasil was visible from the west coast of Ireland for only one day every 7 years. The rest of the time it was obscured in fog. The island had many variant names too. Some examples include Hy-Brasil, Avalon, O Brazil, the Enchanted Isle, Tir na Nog, and the Isle of the Blessed. The island was shown on maps of the Atlantic Ocean for centuries. An island named Brasil was first shown on a Portolan chart by Majorcan cartographer Angelino Dulcert in 1325. Venetian cartographer Andrea Bianco placed an island named Insula de Brazil on a chart in 1436. Historians believe that map makers placed the Phantom Island on their charts after hearing rumors about its existence, without actually knowing it was there. Now, many expeditions were launched to try to find the island, although it was never officially found. Brazil Island continued to appear on maps until 1873, when it was shown for the last time on a British Admiralty chart. Now, I provide several examples that I'll show you through this video and various locations and names for Hy-Brasil Island. Here's a map created by the Spanish cartographer Diego Gutierrez in 1562, and the island is named Insula de Brazil. It is located southwest of Ireland, Isola de Irlanda, and east of the Sea Monster. Now, don't let the Sea Monster fool you into thinking that map makers didn't take their job seriously, because they did. Ancient cartographers, without the aid of modern equipment and GPS satellites, were able to map out the known world with surprising accuracy, and it only improved throughout the centuries. Navigational compasses were created as early as the 11th or 12th century, and in their earliest use, compasses were likely only used as backups for the sextants when the sun, stars, and other landmarks could not be seen. As maritime traffic increased, cartographers began to doubt the existence of Brazil Island. Now, this is a detail from a map that was published in 753 by British cartographer Thomas Jeffreys. The island is shown southwest of Ireland as the imaginary Isle of O Brazil, but this could have just been a nod to the legend that surrounds the island. Now, Hy-Brasil is also sometimes just identified as a rock. Now, this is a detail from a map that was published in 1769 by French cartographer Guillaume de Illa. The island is named Rocher de Brazil, which means Brazil Rock. It is located beneath the lower left side of the tidal cartouche. The legend originates as early as the 12th century. The Irish believed in the existence of a strange island that could be viewed along the west coast of Ireland once every 7 years. Now, there was an oral tradition of telling stories about an island in a fog bank, or a floating island that would disappear when people approached it. Later, the stories were printed in books about Irish folklore. A book with the long title of Irish Wonders: The Ghosts, Giants, Pukas, Demons, Leprechauns, Banshees, Fairies, Witches, Widows, Old Maids, and Other Marvels of the Emerald Isle. Popularly told tales told by the people. Now, it is a documented story in the book about an enchanted isle that was visible for the first time to the inhabitants of County Cork on July 7, 1878. The island vanished and would later appear once every 7 years off the west coast of Ireland. There continues to be widespread interest in the mythological island. The name Hy-Brasil is often used in modern fiction, art, and entertainment. In my opinion, Brazil Island will always be a subject of fascination for many people, not only in popular culture, but also for serious researchers. Both St. Berend and St. Brendan found the island on their respective voyages, and returned home with nearly identical descriptions of Hy-Brasil, which they dubbed the Promised Land. The circular perimeter of the island was confirmed by both saints, Berend and Brendan, who separately walked the shore to determine where the island ended, but never found the end. Most likely they were just walking in circles. Now, one of the most famous stories of a visit to Hy-Brasil was in 1674 by Captain John Nisbet of Killybegs, County Donegal, Ireland. Now, he and his crew were in familiar waters west of Ireland, and a fog came up. As the fog lifted, the ship was dangerously close to the rocks. And while getting their bearings, the ship anchored in 3 fathoms of water. Now, 4 crew members decided to row ashore to visit Hy-Brasil. They spent 2 days on the island and returned with silver and gold of rare quality that was given to them by a mysterious old man who lived there and asked questions about what had transpired over the last couple hundred years, which they thought was odd. Now, the last supposed sighting was in 1872 by Roderick O'Flaherty in a book called A Chorographical Description of West or H. Lar Connacht. He tells of a reported sighting of the old man saying to him, "There is now living More Olde, who imagines himself personally on Hy-Brasil for 2 days, and saw out of it the isles of Erin, Golamheed, Irisvech Hill, and other places of the West Continent he was acquainted with." Oddly, Murray Olay was one of the sailors who rowed to the island and met the mysterious old man 198 years earlier in the 1674 story by John Nesbitt. The last official documented sighting of Hy-Brasil was in 872 when Arthur T.J. Westrop and several companions saw the island appear and then vanish. This was Mr. Westrop's 3rd view of Hy-Brasil, but on this voyage he had brought his mother and some friends to verify the isle's existence. Now, whether or not the isle exists or ever existed, it's still hard to tell, but the mythological and real accounts of the island are hard to deny. All that can be said about the existence of a mysterious isle is that people think it's real, and that may be the point. There's good evidence to suggest that sailors in the late 15th century were using the term Brazil as a code word for lands of great profit. That they were actually referring to was precisely the place that John Cabot was credited with discovering, North America and Newfoundland and all that. Their secrecy was a means of concealing knowledge from the European powers, that not just about the land itself, but about the extraordinarily rich fishery off the coast of Newfoundland. And the red dye, called Brazil, coincidentally, was a huge, valuable commodity, which was derived from wood of certain types of lichen found on islands and coastal woodlands in the North Atlantic. Now, I hate to burst a bubble, but that famous account by Captain John Nisbet is a work of fiction. Not in the sense that Nisbet made up the tale, which would hardly be surprising, but rather that the captain himself did not exist. He was invented by the Anglo-Irish writer Richard Head. Dickhead? Yeah. He used the island of Brazil as a setting for several of his literary works. Most significantly, research into the earliest recorded myths has failed to turn up any mention of an island called Hy-Brasil. There are plenty of tales of mysterious islands, both in lakes and in the sea, but neither that name or any variation of it is used in connection with them until long after it began to appear on the map. It seems that rather than beginning in myth and ending up on the map, as long believed, Hy-Brasil went the other way. It appeared on charts first, was later used by sailors as a code to keep others away from their rich lands and profit, and then riders as a fictional setting. This is where it finally appropriated itself into the Irish and Celtic mythology. And that's the reason why we love it so much, because it has a foot in each world. Everyday Celtic Ways brings you the mythology, traditions, and customs that have created a unique and personal culture that still affects those that are Celtic and those that just love the Celtic world. The Celtic world has more than its share of the supernatural, legends, and myth, which sometimes cross the line into reality. I tell those tales here on Dark Celtic History. The Milk White Dew. There was once a kindly man who worked hard in his fields to support two small children. He had a son named Curly Locks and a daughter named Golden Tresses. But alas, his wife had died and it was hard on him. He felt bad about having to be out in the field all day and leaving his children alone. He was afraid some sort of evil might befall them, and with no one there to look after them, so on an ill-fated day, he married again. I say ill because his wife was a most deceitful woman, who really hated children, but hid this fact in order to have a man take care of her. This was very much a marriage of convenience, and the love that she pretended to show while the man is around. Over time, her bad temper and hateful nature revealed itself, and the man regretted his decisions and wished he had just let well enough alone. One day, the man caught a hare in his snare and brought it home for his wife to make a fine stew. Even though the woman was cruel and bad-tempered, she was a wonderful cook and made the hare into a pot of delicious soup. But she was greedy and a glutton, She tasted the soup and tasted the soup, and it was so good that before long, she had eaten almost all of it. She knew how her husband looked forward to his dinner after working hard in the field all day, especially this dinner being his favorite. The wicked woman fretted over what she should do. How would she get out of this predicament she had gotten herself into? Looking out the window, she saw Curlylocks playing in the sun, and Golden Tresses was off milking the cows and should have been watching the young boy. An evil flash sparked within her mind, and she called the boy inside. Once inside, she wasted no time, struck the boy on the head, stripped off his clothes, cleaned them up, and made soup of the young boy for his father's dinner. Later, when they all gathered for dinner that evening, even though his favorite soup was served up for him, the man first noticed that Curlylocks was not there. He asked, "Where's Curlylocks?" But the evil, wicked woman placed the blame for the missing boy on Golden Tresses, who was supposed to be watching him. Feeling a sense of responsibility and fearing something was wrong, Golden Tress offered to go look for him, but the woman demanded that she stay and eat. The man reluctantly agreed, and they sat down to eat. The soup was good, as he had hoped, but as he ate, he worried about the whereabouts of his playful Curlylocks. As he ate more and more, even getting a second helping, the wicked woman grew an evil smile on her wicked face. Then the man pulled up in a spoon a bone. Before he picked the bone out of the spoon, an eerie thought came to his mind. "Is this Curlylocks' foot?" he cried in horror. The evil woman laughed out loud, pretending to be very amused. But Golden Tresses pulled a bone from her soup as well. It looked like a little hand. "Is this Curlylocks' hand?" she said. Again the woman laughed. "Do you not know the look of a feet of a hare? When have either of you cooked such a wonderful soup?" she explained. "I don't have time for this foolishness," she says as she gathers the plates and bowls and turns away to clean up. The poor man did not say any more. He felt bad to be the accuser with no proof, and his son just being the kind of boy who would run off and lose track of time. Now he picked himself up, feeling foolish for his accusations, and went back to work. Golden Tresses had a shrewd suspicion, though, of what had happened. So she gathered up all the bones before she could throw them away to the dogs, and ran out of the house and into the woods. She carried the bones to a special place, where her real mother had told her was a magical place, near a white rose bush beneath a flat stone. She placed the bones with such care, and looking on, wishing she had the right words to say in the solemn moment, could only recite a poem that she knew. Grew, grew to a milk-white dew that took its wings, and away it flew. And all of a sudden a white dove, called a dew, landed upon the stone, and flew off towards some women washing clothes in the stream. It landed upon a rock just as she began to think it was just a coincidence. The milk-white dew began to sing. "Pew, pew, my mimmy me slew, my daddy me chew, my sister gathered me banes, and put them between two milk-white staves. And I grew and grew to a milk-white dew, and I took to my wings, and away I flew." The two women looked on with astonishment. It's not every day you see a bird sing like that. It was obvious this would not be a normal bird. One of the women asked the dew to sing his song again, and if he did, she would give all the wonderful clothes she was washing. So he did. The bird asked Golden Tresses to carry the clothes as he flew off and landed on a windowsill of a rich man counting his silver. The milk-white dew sang his song again, and the man was astonished. "Stop counting his silver. If you sing that song again, I will give you all this silver," which was a lot. So the milk-white dew sang his song again. The man gave him 2 large bags of silver, which the dew dropped down to Golden Tresses on the ground below. Then the milk-white dew flew off. Golden Tresses followed as he flew to the mill, where he landed in front of the mill workers and sang his song. The workers stopped what they were doing and, astonished, listened to the beautiful and horrific song of this beautiful white dew. They asked him if he sings that again, they will give him the millstone, which at the time was a very prized possession. So he did, and he flew off with the millstone in his claws, which astonished everyone that such a small little bird could carry such a heavy load. golden tresses ran home with the fine clothes and bags of silver, arriving there fast before the dew, with its heavy load, of course. She called out to her father, who came out to see what his daughter was up to. He rushed to her as she began to tell her tale. Then, as the wicked, evil woman finally came out of the house to see what was going on, complaining the entire way, the milk-white dew dropped the millstone upon her head and killed her. The dew flew over and landed upon the man's shoulder, rubbed its head to its cheek, and flew off knowing it had made them rich for life, and rid them of the cruel stepmother, and they lived in peace for the remainder of their days. Top 11 Heritage. Now remember to check out my YouTube channel. It's got Celtic music, podcasts, Gaelic language, Gaelic song, Celtic history videos, plus lots more. And my Facebook group where you can give me your inputs and insights on all things Celtic.
Goodbye, Apple Baby. Marsha Weave.
Goodbye, everybody. But I'm going to let you go with a song.
Pale was the wounded knight that bore the rowan shield. Loud and cruel were the raven's cries that feasted on the field, saying, "Backwater cold and clear will never clean your wound. There's none but the witch of the Westmoreland can make thee hale and soon." So turn your stallion's head, till his red mane flies in the wind, and the rider of the moon goes by, and the bright star falls behind. And clear was the pale moon when his shadow passed him by. Below the hills were the brightest stars when he heard the howling cry, saying, "Why do you ride this way? And wherefore came you here? I seek the witch of the Westmoreland that dwells by the winding mere, and it's weary by the Old's water, and the misty brake far away, till through the cleft and the Kirkstane pass the winding water lay." He said, "Lie down by brindled hound, and rest ye, my good grey hawk, and ye, my steed, may graze thy fill, for I must dismount and walk. But come when ye hear my horn, and answer swift the call, for fear the sun will rise this morn, you will serve me best of all." And it's down to the water's brim he's borne the rowan shield, and the golden rod he has cast in to see what the lake might yield. And wet she rose from the lake, and fast and flee when she would have the form of the maiden fair with the jet black bear's body. Shrill he blew, till his steed was by his side. High overhead the grey swiftly did he ride, saying, "Course well, my brindle hound, and fetch me the jet black mare. Stoop and strike, my good grey hawk, and bring me the maiden fair." She said, "Pray sheath thy silvery sword, lay down thy rowan shield, for I see by the briny blood that flows you've been wounded in the field." And she stood in a gown of the velvet blue, bound round by a silver chain, and she's kissed his pale lips once and twice, and 3 times round again. She's bound his wounds with a golden rod, full fast in her arms he lay, and he has risen hale and sound with the sun high in the day. She said, "Ride with your brindled hound at heel, and your good grey hawk in hand. There's none can harm the knight who's lain with the witch of the Westmoreland."